acknowledge that we are, of course, gathered today on the traditional territory of the signatories of Treaty 6. Also acknowledge the Métis people of Alberta who have a deep connection with this land. I also acknowledge Michael Ewenson, who is here as the interim CEO of the Police Review Commission, my friend Teddy Manywounds, who is the Justice and Public Safety Director for the G4 Stoney Nakoda Tsuut'ina First Nations, and Al Murphy, President of the Alberta Association of Chiefs of Police. I also want to note the Parliamentary Secretary Nolan Dick is here as well. So thank you. Thank you all for being here for this very important announcement. I am Deputy Premier, Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, Mike Ellis. First, I want to begin by saying that policing is one of the most visible and vital parts of my department. It's built on two pillars: trust and accountability. Trust that officers will serve with integrity. Trust that when something goes wrong, there is a fair and transparent process. One that is in place to hold law enforcement accountable and to make things right. And folks, that trust depends on strong oversight. Albertans expect and deserve accountability from their police services, and they expect consistency. And they expect a system that works for everyone. For far too long, the perception of the public was that police were investigating police. And because of that, there was a level of distrust. It's now time for change. So today, I am very pleased to announce that as of December 1st, and from what I'm told by Mike Ewenson, as of 12:01 this morning, the Police Review Commission, or the PRC, is now fully operational. This really is a great day for Alberta. It's a great day, as I know my friends and colleagues across Canada are watching this announcement as well. And it's a great day for all Albertans who believe in fairness and transparency and accountability in policing. It's a new era for policing oversight, and it's the result of years of work to build a system that puts people first. One that strengthens confidence in law enforcement and ensures concerns are heard and addressed independently. And as part of our broader work to modernize public safety in Alberta. As I always say, police should be a reflection of the community it serves. And as an independent and arm's-length civilian body, the Police Review Commission will provide Albertans with a single, fair, and transparent process to file policing complaints. The Commission will handle complaints in three main categories. Level 1 complaints are cases involving death or serious injury or serious and sensitive allegations. Level 2 will be complaints involving allegations of criminal or other statutory offenses. And Level 3 complaints are non-criminal misconduct involving officers employed by municipal and First Nations police services. And complaints outside these categories will be directed to the appropriate agencies, ensuring every concern finds the right home for review. So with this new model, Albertans can be confident investigations will be handled fairly and impartially. And we also recognize that the timely and transparent complaint resolution process is essential for both public and the police. So that's why the PRC is mandated to complete investigations within 180 days. And if more time is needed, the Chief Executive Officer must publicly report why an extension is required. This approach provides transparency, it strengthens accountability, and most importantly, it strengthens public trust in policing. So by creating this independent, civilian-led body, we're setting a new standard, one that puts fairness and integrity at the heart of the law enforcement in Alberta. And I want to thank everyone who helped to shape this new agency, from the law enforcement and municipal leaders to Indigenous communities and to all advocacy organizations. Your input and partnership were key to making sure the PRC is ready to serve Albertans today. In closing, I want to encourage all Albertans to visit albertaprc.ca to learn more about the agency and how the complaints process works, and to submit a complaint directly to the PRC. Albertans can have confidence that every complaint will be treated with the independence and respect it deserves. And I would now like to invite Mike Ewenson, Interim CEO of the Police Review Commission, to the podium to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister Ellis. As Minister Ellis said, as of 12:01 last night, we are live. So we're now 10 hours into the new PRC. And I can tell you my phone didn't ring once. So it's been a quiet and auspicious start. Thank you so much to Minister Ellis and the Government of Alberta for supporting this project. Building the Police Review Commission has been a huge undertaking, and the government had the foresight to establish an implementation team 2 years ago and give it the time and resources to do the job. The implementation team also benefited from getting clear marching orders from Albertans. When the provincial government reviewed the Police Act between 2018 and 2021, people on all sides of the issue, police services, police associations, community groups, and the legal profession advocated for an independent, centralized body for investigating and resolving complaints against the police. The PRC will deliver a more straightforward process for Albertans, but people also deserve timelier resolutions. Sorting complaints into 5 defined groups is a great step towards timeliness. The PRC can focus on misconduct with the investigative resources and authorities it has, while police services can use their tools as employers to deal with job performance issues through human resources and the collective bargaining process, which is much more suited to those kinds of issues. Increased transparency will also encourage timeliness. As Minister Ellis noted, the PRC will have to report on investigations that exceed 180 days and specify the reasons for that delay. The PRC will also give people more options to resolve their complaint through informal processes, when it's appropriate and when all parties consent to it. Using informal processes for less serious complaints isn't just about promoting quicker outcomes. It's about achieving fairer outcomes for everyone involved. Dialogue can give a complainant the opportunity to tell an officer how a negative encounter affected them. For an officer who have simply made a mistake, they may learn to appreciate the citizen's perspective or get additional training to address what led to the mistake, both of which will help them be better at serving and protecting their communities. I want to quickly add that fairness and accountability are not mutually exclusive concepts. Officers accused of serious offenses will be subject to thorough, independent investigation by the Alberta Serious Incident Response Team, which is now part of the Police Review Commission. The PRC will benefit from the trust, professionalism, and investigative excellence that ACERT brings to the organization. The Alberta government established ACERT in 2008 to independently investigate cases of death, serious injury, and serious or sensitive allegations involving all police services in Alberta, and that's what we now call a Level 1 complaint. Under the PRC, ACERT's mandate has expanded to include allegations that don't meet Level 1's, quote, serious and sensitive threshold, but are still criminal in nature. That's what we're calling Level 2 investigations. As well, ACERT's authority to investigate cases of death, serious injury, and serious or sensitive allegations now extends to peace officers working for the provincial government, municipalities, and other authorized employers. This means serious incidents and criminal allegations involving law enforcement will be investigated independently and consistently across the province, no matter where they take place or which agency is involved. It's well known that ACERT had been grappling with an investigative backlog for a number of years. So important to mention, we've taken steps to ensure ACERT is capable of taking on this expanded mandate. Over the past 2 years, hiring additional staff and refining some investigative processes has nearly eliminated the investigative backlog. More recently, we created and recruited a new investigative team to handle Level 2 complaints. The cases ACERT investigates attract a significant amount of attention, and rightly so. When we're talking about serious allegations of wrongdoing or civilians who have been harmed or killed in interactions with the police, we know that ACERT has resources to deal with that. But it's important to remember that the majority of complaints involving police are not criminal in nature. And this is where the PRC has an opportunity for a fundamental shift by making more room for learning, improvement, and restorative processes. When officers face serious allegations and have broken the trust of the public, we have ACERT and the criminal justice system and disciplinary hearings to hold them accountable. But upholding public confidence in policing should also include ways to allow good and ethical police officers to learn from mistakes and return to duty better equipped to serve their communities. Upholding public confidence should also involve giving citizens more opportunities to be heard and greater agency in the complaint process. For the good of everyone involved, the complaint process should be timely and transparent about the reasons when it's not. These are all things the Police Review Commission is striving to do. We didn't arrive at these priorities on our own. They're informed by what a broad range of Albertans told us during an extensive engagement process. We have representatives from many of the organizations and community groups that participated in our engagement with us here today, and thank you so much for coming. I hope to see your ideas reflected in what we do, and that the PRC will earn your lasting confidence as we begin the important work that we've been given. Thank you so much. I'd like to welcome Chief Al Murphy to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Alberta Association of Chiefs of Police, I'm pleased to join you for the launch of the Police Review Commission. Today marks an important milestone in the long-standing commitment to partnership between law enforcement, the Government of Alberta, and our communities. We recognize that public confidence in policing is built on our commitment to listen and respond to community concerns. The establishment of the PRC is a direct response to calls for greater transparency and accountability. The AACP has worked closely with the PRC to ensure that accountability, transparency, and public trust remain at the center of policing in Alberta. The Police Review Commission is an important next step in strengthening independent police oversight. Police leaders across Alberta value constructive engagement with stakeholders, and we welcome mechanisms that support continuous improvement for the profession of policing. Meaningful public engagement is essential to modern policing, and the Commission's work will help ensure community voices remain central to this process. Our shared goal has always been to build a safe, respectful, and trusted environment for all Albertans. We want every Albertan to feel confident that concerns and complaints are handled fairly, consistently, and with integrity. The AACP looks forward to supporting the Police Review Commission's work and contributing to solutions that strengthen public trust in our police agencies. Thank you to all partners who have contributed to this important initiative. Many are here today. We remain committed to this partnership and to strengthening public safety and public confidence across Alberta. It is now my honor to invite Teddy Manywounds to provide comments. Thank you.
Good morning and Dadanas Tada. I want to say Tansi to the Cree people whose lands we are occupying today. I want to commend Minister Ellis and his ministry for maintaining being a leader in public safety, both here in Canada and in Alberta. It has been such an honor to be a part of the development of the PRC and truly determine how we are going to represent the diverse voices of all Albertans, while also maintaining inclusivity to all Albertans whose voices matter. I think it is extremely important when we look at the landscape of delivery of public safety, we also look at the landscape of confidence we are building in our community. I think the communities that we represent and the voices that we hear all need to have a repository so we can not only continue building the confidence, but maintain the confidence of our service and of the public that we serve. It has been my great honor as a First Nation and Indigenous person to be included in the conversation so we can also accurately represent those voices and hear those voices and the concerns that are constantly challenging us within First Nations and Indigenous communities, both urban and on reserve. I want to say sincerely gratitude to the Public Safety Ministry of Alberta for maintaining good governance, because above all else, what this helps us to do, this helps us to apply, is an act of good governance, both to our communities and back to the ministries, back to all of the members of public safety who are inclusive of this space. And so I want to say a sincere gratitude to the team. I know this has been a huge undertaking, a long-term approach with a lot of really effective engagement being done, again, both in Indigenous, First Nations, Métis communities, but in all communities. Because at the end of the day, when we build confidence collectively, we are able to accurately and confidently deliver the service that all Albertans need. And so again, to Mike Ellis, I want to thank you for maintaining being a leader in public safety, both here in Alberta, but above all else in Canada. So thank you.
This brings us to the question and answer portion of our announcement. We do have quite a number of reporters here on the floor. Just get you to state your name and outlet and ask one question with a follow-up. Janet, you can go ahead.
Hi, Janet French from CBC. I think I'm not sure if this question is for the executive director, but you can decide amongst yourselves. So we heard the Justice Minister on the weekend talk about how families should have the right to find out what happened if a Crown decides not to pursue charges that are recommended by ACERT. So to sort of apply that parallel here, what rights will families of victims have to find out why a police commission has decided not to recommend sanction or charges against a police member who has killed or seriously injured somebody?
Well, I'll get Mike to do a follow-up in a moment here, and I certainly appreciate the comments that were made by Minister Amory. Certainly, our concerns is that we found a bit of a disconnect between, ACERT making recommendations and then the Crown not taking those recommendations. And so I think Minister Amory's comments were appropriate in saying that, families, people that have been impacted by, an interaction with the law enforcement, they have a right to know why the Crown made that decision. It's not really simply accessible or acceptable anymore to just say, Crown discretion. I just don't think that cuts it from a public safety and transparency perspective. But Mike, if you wouldn't mind supplementing that, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Minister. So just in terms of your question, the PRC will handle levels 1, 2, and 3. So level 1 and 2 are statutory investigations. Level 1 is what we see ACERT doing now, if you will. And then ACERT will take over level 2, which would be lower level allegations of criminality. So the internal ACERT process is not going to change. When I was running ACERT, we regularly met with next of kin and would explain to them what occurred, what our factual findings were. If we sent a file to ACPS, I want to stress, and I see the term a lot, and this is my public service moment here, that we don't recommend. So that's oftentimes in articles it says, well, ACERT's recommending. No, ACERT's found reasonable and probable grounds, and that's the standard they use, which is a standard any law enforcement agency uses. And then we send it off, and ACPS has a higher threshold to meet to make sure a file can be successfully prosecuted in court. So it's a more onerous standard. Speaking from ACERT perspective, we'll continue to meet with families, continue to tell them what our findings were and the route that the file has taken. In addition, for the level 3s, there'll be an affected person coordinator, which will do reach out to families regarding files, because I'm mindful that when you take an objective look at it, level 1s, you think, okay, a family is highly interested because there's been injury or death, but a level 3, a code of conduct, can also have a huge impact on somebody. And so we'll have the affected person liaison that will do that reach out to individuals and explain to them the process and the outcomes. So I wouldn't formally say it's a right within the legislation, but you will see that in terms of transparency, that we will constantly let complainants know where they're at and where the file's going and where it's been.
So, Janet, one second. Mike, would you mind just supplementing? I think that it's important that the media and the public know that you have a First Nations elder, actually, that maybe you can explain what his role is, especially if there's a First Nations complaint.
Of course. Thank you for that. So ACERT has an Indigenous liaison, Tom Hewitt, who may or may not be still in the room or hiding behind a pillar. But so Tom's done great work with ACERT in terms of outreach. He's a former CPS officer in Métis, and so he spends a lot of time in First Nations communicating with individuals there. And now the PRC actually has another Indigenous liaison, Dana, who's at the back of the room, and so she's doing reach out for the level 3. So we actually have 2 Indigenous liaison individuals that will reach out to families specifically.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Janet, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, for the minister, I believe. So dating back to Police Act review, my understanding is that former retired police officers can serve on this commission. And that was something that some of the people you consulted recommended against. So why is that allowed? How is it not police investigating police if they're former police investigating police?
Well, I mean, interesting, we had a question that came up earlier just in regards to that. We anticipated that question. Look, I mean, I would make the argument, and I'm going to get both Al and Mike to supplement here, but you know, when we have other professional bodies, whether we're talking about doctors, nurses, again, it doesn't matter what the professional body is, typically you don't bring in somebody who has no idea or no concept regarding how investigations work, how police tactics or how operations are. So you have to bring in somebody who has experience and just understand that that particular body will be independent from the policing organizations. It's no different than what Mike and his team do, who do complex investigations regarding serious injuries and sometimes deaths. Yeah, it's not reasonable to have somebody who has no idea how to conduct a police investigation to be investigating those types of complaints. But I certainly would love maybe Al first, and then maybe Mike if you have a few words.
Thank you, Minister. All I would like to add to what the Minister said, and just building upon what he said, is that I do believe having the expertise of someone that has spent a career in law enforcement, having a look at those investigations is important. And what the PRC provides is also there's civilian oversight and at the top levels, as well as Crown reviews depending on the file. So I think that's what covers that off, but it is important to have the right expertise looking at these files.
And Mike, do you want to add to that?
Thank you. So I agree. I want police officers within ACERT and gladly welcome former police officers within the Police Review Commission. So ACERT still has its secondments, for example, from Edmonton Police Service, Calgary Police Service, and the RCMP. And the Police Review Commission has hired ex-officers. But we're also hiring civilians. And we do want to see, over the years, our civilian complement get larger and larger and larger. But the first things that we need to do is get the agency off the ground and running and do good investigations. The important point to make is this is civilian-led. So, for example, at ACERT, former officers and secondments will do the fact-finding. They'll run the investigations, but they do not, within the decision-making process at ACERT, get to then decide if an officer should be charged or should be cleared. Okay? They just compile the facts. Their whole investigation's always been open to me, and now it's open to Matt Block, who's acting executive director of ACERT, to review their work. So that's the checks and balances where they know how to do excellent investigations, pardon me. They spent their lifetime training for these things, but then they compile the facts, and the facts go before a civilian. And so there are those checks and balances where you can rely upon their investigative expertise, but at the same time make sure that we're truly not having police ultimately investigating police and making the final conclusions. That's coming from a civilian.
We do have another reporter at the mic. Will, can you go ahead?
Will Vassar with the Western Standard. My question would be, for current investigations, how is this 180-day timeline going to apply to those?
Sure. So you'll see two systems in the province running concurrently. So anything that's, for example, right now before Edmonton Police Service, they're keeping. Our clock starts today. And so if a complaint were to come in today, then the 180 days starts. And regardless of if it's a level 1, level 2, or level 3.
And then my second question, kind of with that, previous investigations that have been conducted and closed, is there a possibility of these maybe being reopened now with the announcement today, if requested?
No, I don't foresee that, no. If someone came to us, just to give you a hypothetical, and said, I was investigated by the Edmonton Police Service and I didn't like the result, then of course we would speak to them, we would go to the Edmonton Police Service, obtain all of the information, make sure the proper investigation was done, but we wouldn't automatically then relitigate an investigation, if you will. Thank you.
I don't see any more questions. Oh, we do have one more question at the mic. Go ahead.
Hi, Sean Amato with City News. A question for the Minister. This past weekend, the Premier hinted or said that there's going to be a Sovereignty Act motion this week about, directing law enforcement to not follow federal gun laws. There's also a piece in there about allowing Albertans more rights to defend their homes. What do you think about this whole thing? Is this safe?
Well, my position hasn't changed. Let me be crystal clear. we do not direct law enforcement. I was there. I know what the Premier said, but I have to be clear. We do not direct law enforcement. What we do, though, is set priorities. And I can tell you that lawful firearms owners are not the problem within not just the province of Alberta, but within Canada. This is why, our position is, being supported by, our friends in Ontario and Saskatchewan, amongst other provinces, as an example. Regarding, I know people want to use the term castle law. I know that's what they want to say, but let me be clear. And I'm dated here. It's been 10 years. Mike here, Al, you're more a current police officer. Let's see if I can remember my criminal law history here. I can use reasonable force to stop a threat. If somebody has broken into my home, I can use reasonable force to not only stop that threat if I feel there's a danger to myself, if I feel that is a danger to family members. But the question is always, what is reasonable force? It's actually very subjective. And that's why you will see many law enforcement throughout, not just here in the province, but probably throughout the country, sit there and say, get yourself to a safe spot and call the police. However, it is very crystal clear is if somebody is broken into your home, if somebody is posing a danger to yourself, your family members, you can use force to not only stop that threat, but remove them from the property. It's not subjective. That's what's in the criminal code. Am I correct in the law on that? Yeah.
Okay, my follow-up is actually for Al, if that's okay. Just wondering from a policing perspective, how do you feel about being caught between federal laws and provincial laws? I don't suppose, police officers want to necessarily get into the politics of this stuff, but is that awkward? Is that confusing at times where you have the feds on one page and the province on another on these matters?
I actually don't think it's awkward at all, if I can be honest with you. What I will say is that the member agencies of the AACP, we're not interested in utilizing the limited police resources we have on a gun buyback program. We would prefer to use the limited resources we have, as we currently do in the partnerships we do with our Alberta law enforcement response teams, or ALERT. And that's partnerships between all agencies in the province, all around the province, that tackles guns, drugs, and organized crime in our province. I'd far prefer we used our resources that way than on a buyback program that the minister described. And I don't think it's an efficient program that's going to cost a lot of money for no results.
Sorry, just the so-called castle law. Could you address that as part of my follow-up, please?
I don't have anything different than what the minister said. I think the minister is quite eloquent in how he described it, and I think there's nothing further to add to that.
We do have some reporters on the line. Get the operator to put through the first caller.
We have Catherine Rukowski from Alberta. Your line is open.
Yes, good morning. Thanks for taking my question. So I see that there's public reporting requirements and that the outcome of investigations must be posted, but I don't see any mandated timeline for when the report has to be posted after it's completed. Could you clarify whether there's any timelines for that?
No, there's no mandated timelines. I mean, we want to get them out as soon as we can, simply put. So it's really about hearing out the complaint and having the investigation closed within 180 days. I can tell you that we're voluminously staffed up to deal with the reporting requirements. We have a new website, as the minister mentioned. I urge you to check it out. So we're much more transparent than we've ever been in terms of these sort of reporting requirements, but it's simply as soon as possible.
And I would further add, I think, Mike, certainly when you complete your ACERT investigations, you usually give media notification, and that's going to be released the next day. I would figure a very similar process would occur. Yeah.
Did you have a follow-up, Catherine?
And yes, thank you, Arthur. So I saw in the ministerial plans that the initial startup costs are $15.7 million. I'm wondering if you could give me an estimate of the ongoing operational costs and how that compares to ACERT's budget.
Do you have anything to add to that? Okay. Yeah, I mean, nothing really further to add on that. I mean, Mike is only, when did you get into this role? Just end of July, right? So he's been working extremely hard. the fact that we got it up and ongoing today, I think has been a hugely fantastic achievement. I think when it comes to transparency and accountability, and certainly if there is an exact follow-up to that question, I think we can get Arthur to reach out to you on that one. Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
I do see one more reporter here on the floor.
Sorry about that, Arthur. You're sort of blinded by the banner there. So, no, I'll just add that in terms of budgeting, what we've done is we've staffed up the PRC without full complement at this time. We've saved some full-time positions, and the reason why we've done that is to be able to staff into any pressures that we have. So we think that we have it mapped out appropriately as to where we need bodies and what parts of the agency. And then we'll staff up if we see pressures at any one point. And that'll give us a better sense, going through the existence of the PRC, where I know we have great dialogue with the minister and the deputy minister. And if there's pressures beyond that, then those be those conversations of where can we save money in some aspects, where do we have to add positions in other aspects. But we really have to get the plane in the air first to see where we're at with costing.
Now, I do see another reporter here on the floor. You can go ahead.
Hi, Luna Marcia, Radio Canada. So the province created a registry of teachers to see if they have faced disciplines. Will you create a police officer registry?
Mike, that's the first I've heard of that. I don't want to speak for Mike, but that's nothing that we've contemplated now.
Okay, perfect. And when will individual police services cease all investigations of their own members?
Yeah, so as Mike Evans had indicated here, we went live at 12:01. All new intakes will be going to the PRC, and then all police agencies will be winding down their investigations. So it's a bit of a balance that we're doing here. We don't have an exact timeline, but I would just say sooner rather than later. We're hoping that all police organizations conclude their investigations so that really all of it falls under the PRC. Thank you.
We do have one more question on the line. Reporter, operator, can you put through to the last caller, please?
Dane Patterson from the Canadian Press, your line is open.
Thanks so much for taking my question. I know you mentioned that on top of having former police officers and civilians on the commission as well, can you kind of provide a bit of insight into what expertise these civilians have? Are these volunteer position, paid positions? What kind of a bit more about those positions?
Expertise in the sorry, are you referring to expertise in the investigators? Is that what I heard?
Expertise.
Yeah, correctly. For the civilians on the commission panel.
Okay. So just the type of investigators who you're looking at hiring, Mike, I think is what they're talking about.
Sure. I think the greater point is that there's civilians all throughout the Police Review Commission. So I myself am a civilian. I have no policing experience. I'm a former prosecutor, and then I ran ACERT. We'll have resolution specialists, ADR specialists. So there'll be a ton of civilians working within the Police Review Commission. Specifically for investigators, there's a whole range of community members that have investigative skills. In fact, there is a civilian that's an investigator at ACERT, for example. And so it will really depend upon need. It may be, hypothetically, somebody that comes from Child and Family Services and is very good at taking statements from children, for example. We may recognize that need and bring in a civilian that can do that. So there's a whole host of examples of civilian positions that we've already staffed at the Police Review Commission. And I have a whole bunch of ideas going forward of civilians that we could bring into the organization that would complement our staff.
Did you have a follow-up, sir?
Yeah, kind of more of a clarification question. Just curious, as far as, is there any kind of difference in how these investigations will happen under the PRC compared to things like ACERT, or how investigations would have taken place under the EPS or CPS?
He asked the difference. Will there be any difference in the PRC investigation from an ACERT investigation?
I don't believe so.
Well, so ACERT is part of the Police Review Commission. So the subject matter of the investigation obviously matters. So if ACERT gets deployed and it's an officer involved with shooting causing a fatality, they're doing a homicide level investigation. The question is it culpable or non-culpable shooting? So they're going to continue to do those sort of investigations. They're criminal based. And then the level 3 investigators are looking at the Police Act, the police, the PCOR regulations, and doing investigations along those lines. So, sorry if I misheard the question, but I think I have it.
I think the only thing I'd add, and we'll call it level 4, There are HR type investigations, and those, those are like, any organization that might have an HR complaint that is unrelated to the job of policing. That will be handled by the local police agency.
All right, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. This concludes our announcement. I'd also like to invite everybody up front for a group photo, please. Thank you.